Okay. Mm. So from where are you?
Vizag, yeah.
Vizag. Okay. Okay. Let's start with the interview.
Okay.
Uh, Let me introduce myself. Uh, I am Brandon Moro, and here at Upstocks, I'm working in payments team. So we daily handle all the issues pertaining to payments, right? Transferring the funds from your bank account to your commodity or security wallet. And again, if you want to withdraw the funds from your wallet, so all this stuff is handled by my team. Okay.
Okay.
We also have other teams. We have Discover, Growth team, Transaction team, Back Office team. So there are many few other tribes which are working on the other parts of the Upstocks as a whole as a product. So yeah, that's about me. Uh, we also have Anand from Discover team. Anand, you may want to introduce yourself.
Yeah, thank you, Brandon. Uh, Hi, Lavakumar. So, this is Anand Sarankar. I joined Upstocks last year. So, as Brunel mentioned, we have multiple teams like he's working with the payments team, and my team is a Discover team where we deal with the market data, how charts looks like. So these are the basic features we will be working on, and also I am being a part of a new features will going to introduce in our app. So this is about me, like overall experience. You would say it's around 5 years of 5+ years of experience. So yeah, looking forward to. Yeah, we can proceed with the interview.
Okay.
Yeah, Love Kumar, we would like to know about you. We would like to know about your educational background and the experience
Okay,
from.
sure. Yeah, myself, Lavakumar, currently working in Tech Mojo for the client called PaySafe, which is basically the payment gateway company. Where so we are actually as a payment gateway. We'll support different kind of payment providers. So merchants will basically come and onboard with us. So we will display whatever payment providers which we are supporting according to the merchant geographical location. So whatever merchants enabled all those payment providers, right? So whenever the user comes to the merchant page, so we actually as a payment gateway. We provide different kind of all the providers which are merchant basically are configured with us. So if user selects any of the payment provider, we will redirect to the actual payment service provider. There actually all the user activity will be sent it through APIs to our systems, and internal systems will update it through Kafka, and the end status will redirect back to the merchant. Whatever the merchant page which he specified through APIs in the request. So that is the current project which I was working on. Previously, I worked on like forex conversions, where we show the currency pairs of different rates of currency pairs of different currency pairs in the forex market across different regions. So if the rates liked by the users, they basically book those rates. That is the one vertical which I worked on. Another thing is like finding the customer patterns based on the historical data by comparing the real time data. If I find any anomalies, throwing the smart alerts to the business emails, whatever they configured. So these are the three main projects which I worked on, which are my past previous experiences. Like mostly tech stack is like the Java, Spring Boot, microservices, and bit of Python, and also like when it comes to DB, worked on like Oracle DB and Elasticsearch and MySQL. And for messaging queues worked on Kafka, and for cloud worked on like OpenShift and AWS. Yeah, and my education background is like BTech from Anits in Vizag. Yeah,
Okay,
that's pretty much
that's
about me.
great. That's great to hear. Uh, I can see here you have worked on MongoDB, Elasticsearch, Redis, Kafka, Python, Java. Okay, all these things are mentioned here. Okay. So yeah, I would like to know about the recent challenging project that you have worked on, and we would like to know about what all components were there. Uh, how did you design the entire system, or
So
maybe the whatever the knowledge you have.
okay. So actually, the recent project which I'm working on, like integrating the new payment provider into our existing payment gateway. That is the one which I'm currently working on. Uh, so if you want to talk about more about the project, or I'll explain like more like, or actually in my previous company where I designed like one of the project from scratch. That is like anomaly detection engine. Like designing and implementing everything handling by myself. So here we have a team like integrating the new payment provider and into the payment gateway. So which can I explain like either of two or
Can you explain me the entire project, the system in terms of system design? What all
okay.
components are there?
Yeah.
How what all microservices? Do you have microservice architecture
Yes,
in
yes, yeah.
your? So we would like to know about the different microservices, how they communicate to each other. So.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So so first thing is like we have like let's say we have a service called router. So that's
Mhm.
basically depending upon if that will basically calls like whenever merchants request our services, right? So that is the first that is the actually the first service is called gateway service. So the gateway
Mhm.
service will validate the private like will validate the whether the other is like whether the particular merchant is like already registered merchant or not. Then
Okay.
if that is fine, it will redirect to the router service. The router
Mhm.
service basically identify it is like alternate it is like non-card payments or card payments. Depending upon that, it will route it to the core service. So core is a service which will handling core is a service which will route it to the different PSP. So depending upon the request objects and also parameters. So core basically identify okay which payment service provider I need to read out I need to route it. So depending upon that, core is basically routed to the actual APM service, actual provider service, which we are building to communicate with the actual external PSP. So
Okay.
the core service will basically redirect to the actual service. In the actual service, we will get the service and validate all the fields are required, all the fields are fine or not. Once the everything is fine, we'll remodify the request object, and the request object we will transfer to the external PSP. From the external PSP point of view, like there it's their application. Whatever the user. When it comes to front end, right? Front end basically whenever user clicks, right? When user clicks, will redirect to the actual PSP, right? In between,
Mhm.
these are the different microservices which calls are going on, like. So
Mhm.
once the external PSP, whatever user activities are performing, right, like whether he done the payment or he's in still ideal. So these logs, these events will be sent to us through notification channels, to actual PSP, and we'll consume those to Kafka, and whatever messages, whatever the statuses we got, right, so we'll update in our DB, and same statuses, same thing will produce us to the other Kafka channels, so that other services will basically update in the respective DBs. So once it is once we got the status called end status, right, that may be like final, that may be completed, that transaction got completed or failed or expired. Depending upon the end status, we will redirect back to the merchant's basically merchant's actual page. Merchant basically
Mhm.
will send us like if it is on completed, right, we'll redirect to this particular page. If it is on failed, redirect to this particular page. So accordingly, we will transfer the response back to the merchant. So this is the overall flow. Um,
Mhm.
so each microservice has its own DB, and the actual PSP is responsible to producing the data, like all the events, and the core service I basically will that is the main service which will handle the and all the request response on all the event, and once we got the final status, it will produce to the one more Kafka message, Kafka producer. Then where actually all the records will be stored in another service where their merchants can come and see the merchants can come and see like, whether the transaction in sync with their DB, or and also whatever we are providing the dashboards.
Okay.
So
I have a question on this. I mean, initially you said that whenever you receive the request from the merchant at the first place, right?
yeah.
So you said that you do the authentication. So
Yes.
I would like to know how this authentication works in your case.
Yeah. So yeah, authentication basically it has like a public and private keys is there, right? So whenever user come and onboard with us, there actually keys will be generated automatically. So one key will be stored with ourselves, and second key will be shared to the merchant. Um, with and also merchant has a like unique merchant names also there. Those things basically we call it as account ID, and whenever those two things are sent it to the gateway level, so we will call the another external service basically other team is handling, so to validate like whether the key and account ID is whether the public key is matching with the private key or not. So and also the account ID is presented on with in sync with that key or not. If those two are checks are passed, it will route it to the router service. So
Okay, got it. What's the use of Elasticsearch? I mean,
no,
for what
Elasticsearch
purpose?
here we are not using. In my previous company, you have worked on Elasticsearch, especially for anomaly detection engine and also for dashboards to display the dashboards, all the events from Kafka.
Okay,
Like
got it. Mhm.
and also Elasticsearch we use it for like to detect if any issues we find, right, we can find everything in Elasticsearch. All the logs will be sent to the Kafka, and all the logs will be sent to one server, and from server basically called logstash. That will logstash will push to the data, and through Kibana will visualize the dashboards everything. So there we can see.
So you guys, I mean, the whatever you work right now at the moment, you are completely into the Java, right?
Yeah,
Java.
Java. Yeah, presently in the complete Java.
I'm sorry. Before we proceed ahead, Anand, do you have any question?
Yeah, as we are discussing about the talking about the authentication mechanism in your project. So, as you mentioned, you have used public private key mechanism. So, where you stored the private key, whether it's so that because it's a private key, whenever it gets revealed, so it should be like for security purpose. I want to ask
No,
how we
yeah.
maintain the key.
Actually, these things we won't handle. Like separate team will handle, but they wish to store in the vault properties file. Basically, vault or something like.
Okay.
Yeah, they usually store those in DB through again another encryption, but the encryption how the algorithm is there, right? That is stored in the vault key files. Yeah.
So is it on the server side or a client side?
No, server side. Yeah, everything is on server side.
Okay.
Related security. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Go ahead. Yep.
So I mean, while developing any application, uh, how do you handle the errors in your code? I mean,
Except you mean exceptions, right? Through we'll
yes.
catch the exceptions when we
Yeah,
encounter.
I'm asking about the exceptions here.
So yeah, so we have certain exceptions are there, right? Like which we can. So basically, so if you got some exception, let's say if it is validation failed, those are like bad requests, right? So those basically we'll catch all those exceptions wherever customer but during validation.
But
If all those will failed, we will we'll design a custom exception class where we're constructing the code and also what are the message which we need to send, all those things which we are there in the property files. So corresponding exception we got the corresponding error code and also corresponding message we need to send to the back to the response.
I got
So
it. I got it.
yeah.
But here my question is, I mean, what do you do with that exception? I mean, do you do any logging or
Yeah, logs will be yeah. So every statement which we write in a logger, right, those will be sent it those will be those in my current project, those will be seen in the what do you call Splunk. Yeah, Splunk logs. Yeah. So
okay,
yeah, all the loggers will be talk to all the loggers will talk to one service. That service
mm,
will basically push to the all the logs to the Splunk. There we
okay,
can filter out if any issues we find, right, through correlation ID. Like basically some IDs are there, right? So that ID is it's unique for throughout all the transactions, like from a gateway level point of view to the end of the transaction, right? With
So
the help,
do you keep on monitoring your logs in Splunk or
basically, like, yeah, when monitoring means like, if any issues we find, right, basically, we have some alerting mechanism there in Splunk. So if any if we find any error, right, log.error is triggered, right? So basically logs are different types, right? Log.warn, info, or errors. So whenever we triggered errors, right, then their alerts will basically send it like the complete request and response, and also what actual error we got, that particular thing will be sent it to our emails, so that we can check those things, in Splunk, where it actually failed.
okay? Do you have any kinds of alerting mechanism to let you know that something is wrong with your application in production?
Actually, in Splunk only will configure all those things. So if any log.error got triggered, it will send to us mails like.
Okay. So for each error, it will send you alert, or how is it?
Yeah, basically service level, like, so each service will configure different emails, right? So if the particular service got alerted with an error, then each error will be basically sent to us, like.
Okay, got it. Can you explain me what is multi-threading? Have you ever used it?
Yeah, multi-threading. Yeah, previously I worked on, like, basically while getting the rates from basically while getting the rates from different providers during a forex, right? So we have different providers are there to get the rates, and among the rates we need to get the best one so that we can add the trader rate, and also the risk spread needs to be minimized. So that's why we have some different systems are there, like ET2 or like Flexi. There are different systems are there. So there actually one system is not dependent on another system, right? So we can there we can use the features to call those three different providers parallelly. Depending upon the response, we will find the best one, and we'll do all those things. So basically for multi-threading, we have used the executor service with features there. But plain multi-threading, normal multi-threading concept is like, to improve the efficiency of the of the any request, or decreasing latency, which services which functions which doesn't which doesn't means to be synchronous, we can make it as like asynchronous through multi-threading. So each thread will call them parallelly, and basically jobs, right? Those jobs are get just to get the responses. That's it. But those jobs are not related to each other.
Got it. Could you explain me the uh,
Principles you're saying?
solid principles? Yeah.
Yeah, solid principles. Yeah. So basically definitions is, so I'll explain like what is meant by, and where exactly we can use. So basically S is like single responsibility principle, right? So which means like when we have a particular like particular class is there, that class, let's say class called user, where user has certain attributes are there, which means we need to store those which means that particular class is responsible to serve the whatever needs of the user, get the name of user or get the ID of the user, whatever things are there, that particular poser needs to be served to us. But that particular class shouldn't be responsible of like an external dependency which is not related to the particular class. Let's say student department. So this is handling by department class. So and also we want to write the student object, right? There are different modes out there. So let's say console mode or file mode, all these things, but these things shouldn't handle by this class object. There is one more class object where we inherit, or we can use the class dependency in the particular, and in the particular class. Then we can display whatever mode we want to transfer the particular student object. So which means the student is the only responsible to handle the only student related objects itself. So that is called a single responsibility principle. So next thing
I
is
think,
this.
Lavakumar, you can explain it in short. I mean,
Okay. Okay, yeah. O means like open close principle. It's like open for extension and close for modification.
mhm.
Yeah, basically, we can add extra attributes to the student class, but we cannot modify the existing behavior, which hampers the existing happy flow also. So we can add like extra class or these kind of things, but we cannot modify the existing behavior. Our systems designed in such a way. So
Mm-hmm.
LISCO principle and also interface segregation principle is something related to the different kind of interfaces we can create to handle. We can implement all those things. Like let's say we have a crow, we have like bird is there, a ostrich and crow is there, right? Crow can fly and quack. Basically, he can sound, but ostrich cannot fly, but he can it can sound. So we can declare two interfaces, whereas like fly bird and also sound bird. So
Got
for
it.
yeah, likewise we can do. And also dependence injection is like so all the dependence injection means like all the abstractions, higher level objects and lower level objects shouldn't depend on each other, but both should be depend on abstraction. That is the definition. But basically, when we have single interface is that which implements multiple classes is there, right? So if you want to use any dependency in the particular class, that dependency should depends on interfaces, but not depends on the implementation class. So through runtime itself, we need to dynamically implement whatever class we want. Through because we're creating the object for that particular class, but that particular class shouldn't be constrained to the particular class itself where we are actually using the particular dependency.
Okay.
So yeah, this is a solid.
This is fine for now. Uh, uh, are you comfortable with draw.io?
Yeah, draw.io, yes, yes.
Yes. Could you share your screen and open the draw.io? What's wrong?
I think draw.io is working, or can anyone like can you check in your browser? Like, not sure, like actually. It's not.
In my browser, it is working. Is it redirected to
Yes, yes,
app.diagrams dot?
app.io from it, yeah.
There is a pop-up there in the in your browser. Yeah, I think you need to allow that.
Okay, actually, okay, draw.io actually. I think there's one more thing is there, right? Jam or something. That one. Okay.
Yeah, in the Google Meet also we can open that the whiteboard.
Yes,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Google also provides you the whiteboard.
yeah. Just open the whiteboard.
Yeah.
Yeah, that works.
Okay, jam. Yeah, jam.
Okay. So since you have experience in the payment gateway company,
Yeah.
okay, you must be aware of the Webhook dispatcher system, right? In
Web.
which whenever the merchant registers its Webhook with you, okay, so you will have to send the status of the transaction on the Webhook, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
Yes, yes, yeah.
So assuming that you have many merchants and they have their own products. For each product they have uh, for each product they have registered a single webhook. Okay, and on that particular webhook you have to send the updates of the transaction that are happening at your end, right?
Yeah.
So what all things you will consider in designing the webhook dispatcher system?
Okay. So we have different merchants are there.
So yes, you have different merchants, right,
Okay.
which are onboarded, which are already onboarded. You have already given them API key, API secret, whatever the credentials you have already, and they are initiating transactions at your end. Okay, once the transaction is completed, which means the transaction is either successful or failed,
Yes, yes. Okay.
you have to send the update on their webhook, which is
Okay.
registered. Okay.
Yeah.
So it is possible that you may have many merchants registered, and you may have a lot of traffic, because as the traffic at merchants ends grows, it will eventually hit your server, right?
Yes, yes, yeah.
Okay. So considering all these things, how will you design the webhook dispatcher?
Okay.
Let's say there's some source from where you are receiving the events, that this is the event. Okay. Now, what will you do with this event? You will have to find out this event belongs to which
Which
merchant.
merchant? Yeah.
So uh, the design starts from that point, that there is a source from where you are receiving the events.
Okay, okay.
It
So
may be NPCR or anything.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, basically we have a source which we are consuming, then depending upon the each event rate, we need to identify identify based on parameters or based on request to which merchant we need to send this particular.
This is the obviously generic flow, that this is the obvious generic flow, that for you will have to detect to which merchant this events belongs. Okay. And then you will directly hit its webhook, right, and send post the data
Yes,
on the
yes,
web.
yeah.
Okay. This is the generic flow. I want to know what all things you will consider. How will you scale your application? What all applications will be there? What all things will be performed
So
by the boxes,
yeah,
different instances?
yeah.
So
Basically,
maybe,
like
maybe in other words, I would ask you to divide this flow into the multiple microservices.
okay,
Okay.
okay. So okay, uh, yeah. So you're saying like okay, let's say
You can draw it there. Yeah.
okay. Yeah, let's say we have a um,
Again, it is possible that merchant may be down, so you will have to handle that case as well,
yeah, yeah, got it. Yeah, much alone.
right? So what all things, what all systems you will, what all microservices you will need to handle all these things, because at the end you will have to detect, right?
Yeah, yeah.
If the merchant is not up and you are unnecessarily sending HTTP request every time, that won't work.
So, yeah, but yeah, merchant. So did merchant is up or not? Like how can we know? Like, but it's because those are like different systems, right? Like
Because that is a different system, right? So
yeah.
let's say if a merchant is down for, let's say, some threshold, okay, you
Okay, yeah,
know that
yeah. I'm thinking
will
like we
stop
can.
and run, right? So I mean, I'm just asking you what all things you will consider, okay,
Okay, okay.
and what all services you will build here.
Okay, so basically this is the data like injection service where we're getting the data continuous in the stream of data. So we
Okay.
have so it is basically produced into one particular topic in the Kafka.
Perfect.
From Kafka, there is one more service called consumer and identify consumer service. So they basically consuming all these Kafka messages. Once it is consuming this Kafka messages, uh, yeah,
So this is nothing but a consumer, right?
yeah, it is
This.
consuming. It is just consuming Kafka messages.
Hmm.
So where basically it is routing to one more service called identifier service.
Mm-hmm.
Here basically depending upon the Kafka message, right? And also it has like it has like merchant identification DB will be there.
Perfect.
Yeah. So depending upon the message, it will try to get the it will try to check like to this particular message belongs to which merchant. So depending on the merchant ID, like here it has some request is there, right? So where it has the status merchant ID, like basically all the data. Uh, yeah. So once it got the merchant category, right? So it will append in the request. It will redirect to the service. The service basically the service basically has the properties of okay, this merchant. What is the webhook basically? That webhook
Mhm.
property file is there in this particular service, and also
Would you get the same webhook from this DB, or it will be here in the?
what this is.
I mean, would you not store the webhook in merchants DB, or
Yeah.
do you need another system to just for detection?
No, actually, the system. Okay, this has the webhook notification also. Okay, yeah, that webhook URL will all send to this merchant. This service basically what it will do is like it will try to hit the basically external merchant like through API call, right? So
Okay.
if suppose if we got the so if request got succeeded, right, well, basically 200, right,
Hmm.
which means that particular record will not be stored in DB. If the particular request got like some five other than 200, right? So which means like whatever request we send to the merchant, it is not guaranteed. So that
Okay.
one we store in the DB, the particular entire request, and also which URL we need to hit, and also current status of the API call. So
Got it. Uh,
through
Lavakumar, just wait. I do have a question. Okay. Starting from the beginning point, okay, where you receive the event, okay. Since let's assume for now this is a Kafka topic
yeah,
from
Kafka.
which behind which we have n number of consumers which are consuming from the topic, right?
Yes, yeah.
So now once this is consumed, okay, how would you make sure that uh, this is not acknowledged, or I mean, are you going to directly acknowledge it once it is consumed, or how is it? Because it is possible that there may be error somewhere in the middle system, right? In sending the webhook, or maybe in reading from the database, right? So if there is, in case of any such errors, how will you make sure that you will persist that particular event somewhere? Because
Because yeah, each so you mean okay, this particular service will um only take the
no.
statuses.
What I want to say is, you are receiving event from somewhere, right?
Yeah,
Okay, so from some source, let's say as of now, you are assuming that it is a Kafka topic. You are receiving the event, right?
yes,
So until that particular event is delivered to the merchant,
yeah,
you will have to store it somewhere, right?
yeah,
Otherwise, that
yes,
event
yes,
would be lost.
yeah. Each service has its own audit DB, like
If
uh,
anything goes wrong in processing, then event would be lost, right?
yes, yes,
Which we
yes, yeah.
don't want to happen, right?
Yeah. So yeah, SCSC, that is the one more flaw. Like so,
Yeah.
we have like DB is there, table is there, like audit table, where just it will store the whatever messages are there, right? It will store the messages with the status is like pending.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so once it got the 200 response, right? So it has a unique ID is there, right? So once the particular API got the 200 response, we'll update the status as like done, and the same time we'll produce here this will produce the another message. This will produce another message,
Mm-hmm.
and produce a message to topic of the particular ID and also what is the status. So once this particular ID and status got triggered, right? This particular service will basically consume those things, and it will update the status to
Mm-hmm.
the done completed status. So at the end, basically this should be sync.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, and also this service is this particular service is only responsible to triggering a badge as a badge jobs, like either we have merchant retry on merchant threshold configuration, or like let's say so much it's a kind of rate limiter is there. Basically like after 5 seconds we can reheat the merchant depending upon the either our own set of configuration, or like if we if while doing merchant onboarding also merchant may provide like okay you can if something is wrong you can retry after these many times. So either through that particular configuration file, or else we can have some set of predefined configuration files, predefined set of configuration.
I got it. I got it.
Yeah.
How you make sure that the merchant is up and running, or if the merchant is not up and running for maybe half an hour, then you may have your custom rules. What to do with those events? It is possible, right? Because it is possible that one of your client, one of the merchant, is down for half an hour,
Okay.
right? So somehow you will have to auto detect. So let's say for next 1 minute, if the requests are failed, or maybe next 10 minutes if requests are failing, then maybe you will have to disable it. These
No,
are
no,
the options,
yeah,
right?
instead of disabling we can double the time like to reheat the new request. uh
Okay.
so let's say let's say we
But
got the
there, but there should be some limit, right? There should be some limit. It should not become infinite,
okay,
because it's
you mean
possible.
like after these many tries, even though the merchant is not responding,
Yes.
then how we can know, how we should know this, how.
I mean, those are the custom rules. Payment gateway companies will have to implement those rules.
Okay,
Okay,
okay.
those are the custom rules, right? Suppose if merchant is down for, let's say, half an hour, right? In that case, you can definitely disable the merchant, because you don't want to unnecessary send the traffic towards the merchant when the merchant is down, right?
Yes, yes,
So
yeah.
let's say if you want to implement this particular feature, you want to detect this in real time. Okay, in this system, in this Webhook dispatcher system, that you want to limit merchant. Sorry, you want to disable, or maybe you can say, as of now, let's assume you want to disable the merchant if n number of requests fails in next minute, or maybe next 5 minutes.
Yeah, yeah.
So and that to concurrent request I'm talking about, simultaneous request fails.
Okay.
So how will you implement this logic? How will you implement this thing? Will there be any another service? Because see here, you are hitting your merchant, right? Which
Yeah.
which is returning 2xx. Okay, 2xx means the data is
Acknowledged.
received.
Yeah.
It is acknowledged.
Yeah.
But in case of 5xx, or it is generally 5xx. In case of 5xx, it is possible that the merchant is down,
Yes, yes.
right? So you should have some kind of auto detection. So how will you add that particular thing to the system?
No, yeah, basically. Uh, so let's say like let's say so if so okay, from our side we have some limit is there. So let's say in 5 minutes, if you got more if you got, let's say all the events will basically traffic to this particular merchant, right?
See,
So this much.
if the simultaneous events are failing, okay, let's assume one after another, almost 100 requests failed,
Yeah,
right?
related to same merchant only.
That is the one condition.
Yeah.
Another condition, in next 5 minutes, almost you can add your custom rules, right?
Yes, yes, yeah.
Certain percentage of traffic is failing. That is the another rule. Okay. Um
So
you,
basically, yeah, it has
so
one.
I mean, it's up to you. I'm giving you freedom to design your rules and
Yeah.
have some kind of logic. So will you have any different service to do this?
not service, like basically, not service in the means, uh, we can have service where basically it has all the set of configurations. Just the service, before sending to this particular, before sending an API to this particular merchant, right? It will just query the merchant is disabled or not. So basically, yeah. So
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
yeah. So So whenever,
How these two services will communicate? The
yeah,
last one, which is sending the webhook request, and the new service, right? Which is
yes, yes,
doing how these two services will communicate.
yes, yeah. So
What
let's
protocol will be there? Yeah.
yeah, let's say this is the merchant rule service.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so each merchant has certain set of rules are there, and
Mm-hmm.
all these stored in the property files. But we have like one more table associated with the particular table, particular service is there, where we have the
Mm-hmm.
merchant name or merchant ID, and we have the status all enabled or disabled. Like merchant is enabled or disabled.
Mm-hmm.
So so whenever we got, let's say we got an event is there. So depending if it is 2x, then we are not doing anything. If it is 4x, right, this particular webhook will be triggered, right, because this is
But
not a the,
this auto detection system, okay, rate limiting, yeah, auto detection, whatever the name you give, okay, this should come to know the status of each call, each webhook call, right? Then only it will be able to detect, right?
yes, yes, yeah, that's where every request we are
Are,
sent.
are, you, are, you, are you are you bit confused, or how is it? Hello.
Yes, yes, yeah, I'm still thinking. No, yeah, basically when we have the when we have the message over here, right? So
Mm-hmm.
which means we we need to check basically to this particular rule service whether we can trigger this particular message or not.
Yeah,
If
that's
it
the
is,
first step.
yeah, if
That
it
is
is
the
if yeah, if it is sending the response as like disabled, right, we are
first.
we are not triggering.
Right. But before doing that, yeah, you can do that in real time. That is fine. That is absolutely fine. That
Yeah,
is the acceptable
yeah.
logic. But my question here
How
is,
should this MRS knows, right? How this
yeah,
MRS storing? Yes, 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 yeah.
it should analyze the data of all the requests, right?
Yeah, all the requests, yeah. So
Okay.
yeah, whatever statuses which we are getting, okay.
So how will you send that data to this system, and how will you manage it?
Yeah, basically it will ask like, okay, I'm this is the first transaction, this is the first, right, first request will go to over here from this to this one, to ask like whether I can send the request or not to the particular service. So
Mhm.
the so we got the second one, let's say, allo, if we get allo, right, it will hit the service, depending
Mhm.
upon the third one, and depending upon the receiver of the request, right, it will produce to the particular topic, because either it may be 2x or it may be 4x, anything.
Right.
So this particular topic, let's say, topic one, this particular topic one is basically consuming this particular rule service,
Got it.
topic one, to just know like what is the status of the merchant ID, so so depending upon these rules, right, if let's say 1,000 records got to know, like, we got from this particular topic, and the service is consuming this particular topic, and if there will be some of 4x's and some of 5x's are there, right, we need to just count the what are the 5x's are got, like basically non 2x's, or maybe that is also fine. If the count is like, depending upon the timestamp, like, so if the yeah, let's say we got in a 1 minute we got, let's say, more than 100 400 4,000 requests. So while consuming this one, this particular request itself is getting, this is like common, right, concurrent. So whenever this particular, so if that particular percentage got breached, right, this will be become disabled, like this enable become. So this two will reply as like don't query, like to this particular third request. Uh, that particular, we can even either so it will not query throughout a time, or we can maintain like or we can store in the in a batch job. Anyway, we are storing same thing in a batch job, right? So where if it is say don't allow means we can simply say don't call, or we can say like after depending upon rate limiter, that if you're using rate limiter over there, we have like we can assume, right, okay, at a particular microservice will become re-override after some particular amount of time, or maybe this particular service call reaches the threshold, all the requests in the bucket is like overflow, it is not doing, right. So this will tell don't allow, and also it will tell the timestamp, like at till the maximum timestamp we are not querying. So whenever this particular batch job is reinitiated, so the same messages
Mhm.
will be re-pulled over here, will be re-pulled, and also this has some batch job, like it will make it as like re-enabled, like from this disabled state to, like if the particular time got expired, like then again everything will be set to 0 0. Likewise we can do, or else if it is like moving if it is a window size, right, if it less than, let's say if less than 100 requests you got in 5 seconds, if it is more than 100, we can make it disabled. Hel-
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Please continue.
yeah, if it is less than 100, we can make it as re-enable, like with the help of, if you're using a moving window, like moving token bucket algorithm, or either we can use the fixed timestamp, or we can use moving timestamp. I think likewise we can do uh,
Okay, yeah, that works. That really works. Okay. Uh, Logo. I'm almost done from my end. Uh,
I hope, yeah, you guys watched the video. I think you understand, right, how the live recording, how the real interviews will be for HLD, high level designing. Actually, I was very tense during giving interview. Like almost I'm unable to present very well, but actually I qualified the interview, so I qualified for company also. Um, so basically what they asked is like post they enabled the cameras, but that is the reason I'm unable to blur them, uh, and also I'm unable, I shouldn't post their photos, right, until unless they consent. So that's why I'll just briefly explain. After that one is almost interview is completed, I think only 5 minutes are left. In 5 minutes they basically asked me questions on like how you scale the system design, how you scale the systems, and also during Facebook crash, right, Facebook or Instagram, the and WhatsApp are actually crashed, right, previously. They have asked like what are the possible scenarios of crashing microservices, so that they are unable to serve the user request. So I have tell like if you're constrained on like max scaling, or any network failure or any bandwidth gaps, all these things, such as some general stuff. So they are okay with the approaches which I was convinced them. So later they asked me like okay, tell me, like if you want them to know about anything on company, so you can ask like about role and which project should I will get. And also you can more discuss on like if you already worked on similar project in your previous companies, right? So we are handling like this. So how you're handling these kind of things in your company, like so basically when it comes to money movement kind of thing. So I think that is the end of this HLD live recording interview. So previously I uploaded several like live recording also, like real time, this is also SDE2 for Python. This is for coding questions, and now previously I have started like a SD interview series, um, SD interview series, and also low level designing questions. So I was consistently uploading the videos. So please subscribe, likes, and thumbs up so that it will help to someone, or it will help to you also to know the real interviews, and also to know the low level designing and machine coding around questions. Yeah, till then we'll meet with the next video, and yeah, bye.